Anna, a 32-year-old woman with sharp green eyes, stepped into the theater lobby as rain pounded against cracked stained glass windows. A flickering chandelier cast long shadows on tattered crimson carpeting. She paused, clutching her leather satchel, while the ancient marquee overhead whispered forgotten titles in a trembling whisper. "This place feels alive," she thought, her pulse quickening. The ticket booth was empty, its glass smeared with dust and dark handprints. A distant echo of laughter bounced off peeling walls as a cold draft spiraled through the hallway. Anna's breath came in measured bursts as she approached the entrance to the auditorium. Her hand trembled on the door handle. She hesitated, recalling warnings of strange disappearances here. Just a story, she told herself, yet every instinct screamed otherwise. As she crossed the threshold, the door groaned shut behind her, and the scent of mildew and old popcorn filled her lungs. Anna's heart thundered as she entered the auditorium. The heavy curtain was drawn, its deep red velvet stained and moth-eaten. She pressed a trembling palm against the fabric, feeling a faint pulse beneath, like a heartbeat trapped in the threads. She stepped forward, her boots clicking against warped wooden floorboards. A musty odor of mold and old film reels curled around her senses. Flickers from a lone projector booth ahead cut through the darkness, casting ghosts of light on torn seats. Anna whispered, "Who or what is still here?" Her voice echoed unnaturally, swallowed by the vast emptiness. The exit sign overhead flickered out, plunging her into near-pitch silence. She swallowed hard, gripping her satchel strap. Every fiber of her being screamed to turn back, but curiosity propelled her deeper into the void. Anna edged toward the projector booth at the back of the theater, each step stirring motes of dust that danced in fractured light. The booth's glass window was cracked, spiderwebbing across its surface like frozen tears. Through the crack, she glimpsed a solitary reel spinning in silence, its celluloid strip peeling at the edges. A distant whisper grazed her ear, indecipherable but urgent. She knelt to examine footprints in the dust, small, child-sized prints, leading toward the screen where images glowed faintly. With a trembling hand, she reached to open the booth door. It creaked in protest, and the reel jolted, sending flickers across the scene. Anna held her breath as a sequence of warped frames revealed a child's face, eyes hollowed with terror. She recoiled, her mind racing. How many had come before her and vanished into these shadows? With a gasp, Anna pulled back from the booth as the projector flickered to life on its own. Beams of warped film danced across the torn screen, casting twisted silhouettes on the floor. A child's plaintive cry echoed through the cavernous space, its source unseen. She scanned the rows of seats, her vision catching shapes moving just beyond the light's edge. Each flicker revealed phantom figures, pale, gaunt outlines that melted into darkness when she blinked. Panic surged as the crying grew louder, morphing into anguished screams. Anna stumbled back, her satchel clattering to the floor, and spilling papers sprayed with old ink. A single page fluttered toward the booth, landing beside the reel. A child's scrawl begging for help. Her throat tightened. She bent to retrieve it, hands shaking. The voices crescendoed behind her, urging her to run, or join them. Anna snatched the scrawled page and turned to flee, but the theater had shifted. The aisle stretched farther, and the exit was gone. Panic clawed at her chest as she sprinted past rows of seats that closed in like jaws. The child's cry morphed into laughter, hollow, mocking, echoing from every corner. She darted left, then right, each turn unveiling new corridors carved from velvet shadows. Her boots slipped on spilled popcorn kernels, and she fell hard, the page ripping in her grip. Through tears, she saw a small door in the back wall, its frame flickering with pale light. Summoning trembling courage, she rose and staggered toward it. The laughter stopped abruptly, plunging her into deafening silence. Anna paused at the threshold, hand on the doorknob, heart hammering. She inhaled sharply and twisted the knob, ready to discover what lay beyond. Anna's fingers trembled as she pushed through the small, dimly lit door. A narrow corridor revealed peeling wallpaper patterned with faded film reels, its pastel hues muted by layers of grime. Overhead, a single exposed bulb swung on a frayed wire, casting dancing shadows that stretched across warped floorboards. She advanced slowly, boots clicking in measured beats, each step stirring stale air laced with the scent of mildew and rusted metal. The corridor groaned as if responding to her intrusion, and distant echoes of muffled sobs drifted from unseen mouths. Anna swallowed, tightening her grip on the strap of her leather satchel, heart pounding against ribs like a trapped bird. "There has to be an exit," she whispered to the darkness, voice quavering yet resolute. To her left, a cracked mirror reflected her pale face and wide green eyes, and for a moment she thought she saw movement behind her reflection, only to turn and find empty silence. Anna reached the corridor's end and discovered a heavy iron door smeared with decades-old handprints. Rusted hinges protested as she eased it open, revealing a small projectionist's office piled high with dusty reels and frayed scripts. Each shelf sagged beneath stacks of brittle celluloid canisters, labeled in looping cursive with film titles long since forgotten. A cracked director's chair sat before a cluttered desk, its black leather seat torn and sticky. On the desk lay a tattered journal, its pages yellowed and brittle, as if awaiting her discovery. Anna hesitated, memories of childhood film lessons surfacing, and then lifted the journal, flipping through entries written in a child's scrawl. The final entry read, "They come when the lights die. Don't let them in." Her pulse quickened. Heart hammering, Anna opened the journal fully under the weak glow of a flickering lamp. Each line detailed a caretaker's descent into obsession as he tried to capture an unseen audience. They watched every screening, the caretaker had written, waiting for their turn to speak. The final pages bore frantic scrawls describing voices whispering from the projector, promising eternal performance in exchange for a soul. Anna's breath caught as the lamp sputtered and died, plunging the room into shadow. She felt the temperature drop sharply, and a distant projector whirred to life, its beam slicing through the darkness toward her. Panicked, she slammed the journal shut and bolted for the door. But the hallway beyond had vanished, replaced by a wall of flickering film strips projecting ghostly faces. Trapped within a kaleidoscope of shifting images, Anna pressed her back against the office's solid wall, heart racing with dread. The ghostly faces flickered closer, their silent mouths opening as if to speak. She covered her ears, but an echoing chorus of laughter and weeping flooded her mind. Panic propelled her forward, and she ripped a length of film strip from a nearby reel, holding it like a barrier. With trembling hands, she jammed the projector's lens to black, halting the beam and silencing the spectral chorus. The room plunged into oppressive stillness, broken only by Anna's ragged breaths. She tucked the film strip into her satchel and scanned the office for another exit, praying the door she remembered still existed. Summoning every ounce of courage, Anna dashed toward a narrow passage revealed behind a loose shelving unit. The space beyond was choked with tangled cables and abandoned equipment, and the air crackled with static. She stumbled over a fallen dolly and slung her satchel over her shoulder as the corridor behind her erupted with a distant roar of applause, unnatural for an empty theater. She scrambled through a low doorway and emerged into a forgotten projection hallway, where rows of silent booths lined a flickering neon exit sign. The sign's red glow pulsed in time with her pounding heart as she sprinted toward it, ignoring the weight in her satchel and the echo of unseen footsteps racing at her heels. Anna stepped through the neon exit into a vast, desolate lobby bathed in sickly yellow light. The tiled floor was cracked, veins of grime tracing unnatural patterns between shattered decorative inlays. A towering box office stood empty, its windows shattered and frames warped. She advanced cautiously, her boots echoing against hollow marble walls, etched with peeling murals of past movie premieres. Overhead, recessed lamps flickered in irregular rhythms, casting long, jittery shadows that seemed to crawl toward her. Anna pressed a trembling hand to her satchel strap as a distant thud resonated from behind the collapsed concession stand. "I must find another way out," she whispered, voice barely carrying in the oppressive silence. As she circled a toppled popcorn cart, Her flashlight beam revealed a red velvet rope, stretched taut across an open archway leading deeper into the darkness. Fear and resolve warred in her chest as she tightened her grip and stepped forward. Anna ducked beneath the velvet rope and entered a gallery of faded portrait frames lining a curved corridor. Each portrait showed smiling faces under spotlights, actors, directors, and forgotten patrons of the old Capitol cinema. The glass was filthy and cracked, distorting the painted smiles into grotesque grins. A cold breeze hissed around her ankles, and the corridor stretched unnaturally long as if inhaling her presence. She paused beneath a portrait of a child in 1920s attire, its eyes seeming to shift when she blinked. Anna's pulse quickened as distant whispers rippled through the air like static on a film reel. She reached out to touch the frame, and the painted lips twitched, whispering her name in a voice too soft to comprehend. Elation and dread intertwined as she yanked her hand back and hurried onward, following echoes toward a looming iron gate. Arriving at the iron gate, Anna discovered a sign etched into metal, "Projection Dreams." The gate was ajar, revealing a vast chamber beyond filled with suspended film strips like tapestries. Beams of pale light filtered through the hanging celluloid, casting ghostly patterns on the dust-choked floor. She inhaled sharply as soft sobbing echoed in the distance, each tear-shaped strip rippling as if caressed by unseen hands. Anna stepped forward, brushing aside a dangling reel, and felt the film's cold touch on her fingers. Her reflection shimmered in a mirrored wall at the chamber's far end, but behind her form was a second figure, pale, blurred, and watching. She spun, flashlight darting, only to see empty darkness. A fresh sob rose behind her, closer now, and Anna raced toward the mirrored figure, heart pounding like a drum in a silent symphony. Anna's breath caught as the sobbing transformed into manic laughter that reverberated through the chamber. The hanging strips began to swirl around her, twisting into cyclones of fragmented images, scenes of past horrors, panicked crowds, contorted faces, and flickering marquee lights. She stumbled backward as reels unspooled themselves, wrapping around her ankles like serpents. Panic surged, and she raised a hand to shield her face from the spinning tapestry of terror. A guttural whisper slithered through the vortex, "Stay and watch forever." Flames of defiance ignited within her, and with a fierce yank she ripped free, sending film fragments scattering like falling leaves. The laughter cut off abruptly, replaced by deafening silence. Anna stood amidst torn celluloid, heart racing, determined to press onward toward the faint glow at the chamber's edge. At the chamber's far edge, Anna discovered a heavy wooden door, framed by flickering bulbs, labeled, "Exit to Light." Relief surged as she grasped the iron handle, but a chorus of distant voices rose in protest. The door resisted with a jarring groan, and when it finally swung open, she was blinded by a sudden glare of white light. She stumbled through, into a pristine lobby bathed in daylight, store fixtures gleaming, and concession stands pristine. For a heartbeat, she thought she had escaped, until she saw her reflection in the glass doors. Her eyes glowed with the same hollow terror she had glimpsed in the child's face. The door clicked shut behind her, and Anna realized some exits only led deeper into the nightmare. Anna blinked against the sudden brightness, as the pristine lobby dissolved into a swirling vortex of old film reels. She found herself back in the dusty auditorium, but this time the seats were overturned and drenched in flickering crimson light. A low hum resonated from the projection booth, its door flung wide, revealing darkness deeper than any shadow. She crept forward, each step echoing like a drumbeat of fear. In the center aisle, a solitary film canister spun on its lid, throwing dancing reflections across ripped velvet seats. Anna's breath hitched as she noticed her satchel lying open nearby, the torn journal pages strewn at her feet. She bent to gather them, hands trembling, when a voice whispered her name from the booth's maw. "Anna," it breathed, breath cold against her ear though no one was there. Panic flared and she bolted toward the booth, determined to face whatever waited. Anna burst into the projection booth and slammed the door behind her. The space was cramped, rusted metal shelves bowed under stacks of ancient film canisters and broken spools. The projector stood silent, its lens shattered, light leaking from the hole like a wounded eye. She could feel the temperature drop as a dozen ghostly frames drifted through the air, projecting half-formed faces onto the peeling walls. Anna yanked a spare reel from a shelf and hurled it at the projector, shattering its casing and silencing the spectral images. Silence pressed in, thick and suffocating. She turned to escape, but the doorway had vanished, replaced by a solid wall of celluloid images, looping the same terrified scream. Heart-pounding, Anna scanned the booth for another exit, realizing she was trapped in her own nightmare. Desperation clawed at Anna as ghostly images rippled across every surface. She backed into a corner and pressed herself against the wall, breath ragged. The walls seemed alive with flickering portraits of past patrons, their mouths opening to release silent screams. She closed her eyes, blocking out the horrors, and whispered, "Not again." When she dared to look, the booth had transformed into a narrow tunnel of tangled film strips, beckoning her forward. With no other choice, Anna pushed through the hanging celluloid, its cold edges slicing her leather jacket. Each step felt like wading through darkness itself, and the tunnel's end glowed with an otherworldly light. Her pounding heart urged her onward as she emerged into a cavernous chamber, unlike any she had seen. Anna stepped into a grand circular chamber lined with towering film canisters, reaching up into gloom. The floor was a mosaic of shattered negatives, each piece reflecting distorted images of her terrified face. In the center stood a pedestal topped with a single unmarked canister glowing softly. An unseen wind rustled loose pages from her satchel, swirling them around her like ghostly butterflies. She approached the pedestal, drawn by its faint hum. Anna lifted the glowing canister, and the chamber erupted in a chorus of voices, pleading, angry, sorrowful, all demanding release. She clutched the canister as the voices crescendoed, her resolve hardening into fierce determination. With a steady hand, she opened the lid, ready to confront whatever lay within. Anna peered into the unmarked canister's depths, and gasped. Inside lay a single frame of her own face, eyes hollowed, and mouth stretched in silent scream. The chamber quaked as the voices merged into her own whisper. "Stay." She recoiled, dropping the canister, and it shattered into a million glowing shards that spiraled upward. The shards formed a bridge of light, leading to a distant archway. Anna's reflection flickered in each shard, some terrified, some resolute. Summoning every ounce of courage, she stepped onto the bridge, shards dissolving beneath her boots. As she neared the arch, the voices faded into a single word: free. With her heart pounding and sweat on her brow, Anna pushed through the archway, determined to end the horror once and for all. Anna stepped through the archway and found herself in a long, dim corridor lined with ornate mirrors that stretched toward a distant vanishing point. The air was heavy and still, scented with mildew and old varnish. Each footstep echoed against polished marble floor tiles cracked by time. Her reflection multiplied infinitely in the mirrors, each version more distorted, eyes hollow and mouth twisted. She gripped her satchel strap, feeling its weight like a lifeline, and pressed onward. Overhead sconces flickered, casting pools of amber light that revealed delicate mosaic patterns inlaid with tarnished gold leaf. The corridor seemed to contract and expand as if alive, breathing in sync with her panicked heartbeat. Anna paused beneath a broken sconce and swallowed hard. A whisper slipped from her lips. "I must keep moving." Behind her, a single mirror frame rattled, though no breeze stirred. Anna continued until the floor gave way to a glass-paneled balcony overlooking a vast, echoing theater cavern. Below, rows of empty seats glimmered in ghostly blue light from unseen rows of windows high above. She leaned on the railing, heart pounding, and peered over. The seats formed a spiral pattern leading toward a massive, cracked dome overhead. Faint rain pattered against the broken glass, casting rippling reflections across shattered rows. Anna's breath fogged the cool air as she whispered, "What happened here?" A distant rumble answered, as if the cavern itself groaned in mourning. She stepped back, and the railing shifted slightly beneath her hand, sending a shiver up her spine. Turning away, she spotted a narrow stairwell descending into darkness and steeled herself to descend. Anna descended the narrow stairwell, each step creaking under her weight. The walls were lined with film projectors of varying vintage, their lenses clouded and rusted. She passed machines frozen mid-reel, silent witnesses to forgotten shows. A soft hum vibrated through the metal frames as she reached a landing. Before her lay a small empty projection room, its doorway framed by flickering red bulbs. Inside, a single projector sat on a wheeled stand, its reels slowly turning without power. Anna's pulse quickened as she entered and approached the machine. The reel inertia slowed, then stopped. She reached out, fingertips brushing cold metal, and the room plunged into darkness. A single spotlight above her flickered on, illuminating a dusty script on a podium. The final page of a cancelled film, pages curled and stained. Anna opened the dusty script and read the final page by the glow of the spotlight. The cancelled film's ending foretold a performance never meant for human eyes, a show that trapped its viewers in eternal limbo. She shivered as the words sank in. "Once you watch, you cannot leave." A faint projector click echoed behind her. She spun to see the machine's lens glowing, film strip advancing. Panic surged as the words she read began to appear on the wall in flickering light, letter by letter. Anna dropped the script and backed away, heart hammering. The red bulbs dimmed, and the doorway sealed shut with a metallic clang. She pounded on the door and screamed, "No!" The chamber trembled, and the screen above the projector lit up with her own reflection. Anna seized the overturned podium and rammed it against the projector stand, toppling the machine. Film reels scattered and clattered across the floor as the glowing lens snapped off. The screen above sheared into darkness. Silence pressed in, broken only by Anna's ragged breathing. She raced to the door, which groaned open at her touch. Beyond lay a short grated catwalk suspended over a subterranean void. Cold air rushed upward, carrying distant echoes of applause and weeping. She hesitated, then sprinted forward, boots slipping on loose film canisters thrown aside. Reaching the end, she vaulted off the catwalk into a shaft of blinding daylight, tumbling onto concrete. Pain seared through her shoulder, but relief flooded her as the corridor behind collapsed with a deafening roar. Anna lay gasping, determined to survive and finally escape the theater's curse. Anna lay gasping on cracked concrete, sunlight scorching her brow as she blinked against the glare. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light, pouring through a jagged skylight overhead. She pushed herself upright, pain radiating from her shoulder where she had struck the floor. All around her stretched a forgotten projection courtyard, rusted scaffolding and toppled reels scattered like fallen monuments. A hot breeze stirred torn film strips, sending them skittering across the ground like metallic leaves. Anna winced as she tested her weight, gripping her satchel strap for support. Despite the searing light, an oppressive chill ran down her spine. She scanned the courtyard's perimeter for any sign of an exit and noticed a half-open metal grate at the far wall, its darkness beckoning. Anna hobbled toward the metal grate, each step echoing against the courtyard walls. She peered through the opening and saw a narrow tunnel lined with damp bricks and tangled cables. A faint draft carried the distant scent of rain, though the sky above was clear. She slid inside, brushing past cobwebs that clung to her jacket. The tunnel sloped downward, and the air grew cooler and more oppressive with each step. Footprints, small and smeared, marred the damp floor, guiding her deeper into shadow. Anna swallowed her fear and pressed on, flash of daylight behind her shrinking as the tunnel swallowed her whole. The tunnel opened into a subterranean vault, its vaulted ceiling dripping with condensation. Ancient projector cranes hung from rusted tracks above, their lenses opaque with grime. Anna's flashlight beam revealed a labyrinth of shelving stacked with unmarked canisters and broken reels. The ground was slick with puddles reflecting her wavering silhouette. Somewhere in the darkness a projector whirred to life, its beams slicing through the gloom toward a distant wall. Anna's heart thundered as she realized the beam formed a map of the theater's hidden passageways. She took a tentative step forward, drawn to the pattern of light that promised a path out, or deeper in. Anna followed the projected map along narrow ledges above the canisters, careful not to slip. The beam flickered, revealing fresh claw marks etched into the walls and floor. Her breath came in shallow gasps as she navigated around stacked crates and dangling cables. Malin! The corridor curved and Anna heard distant whispers, urgent pleading rising from below. She peered over the edge to see a mirror-clear pool of oily water at the vault's center, its surface rippling though no breeze stirred. A faint figure hovered at the far side, its outline wavering. Anna's blood ran cold as the figure turned toward her, featureless face reflecting her own terrified gaze. Anna froze as the featureless figure advanced silently toward the pool's edge. Every instinct screamed to flee, but her legs trembled. The projector beam snapped off, plunging the vault into darkness. Anna fumbled for her flashlight, clicking it on to reveal the figure standing inches away, its blank visage inches from hers. She screamed and stumbled backward, crashing into a stack of canisters. They toppled, sending glass and metal crashing across the floor. The echoes mingled with the figure's hollow laughter. Gathering her courage, Anna grabbed a jagged real shard from the rubble and held it at arm's length. The figure hesitated, its form wavering, as Anna advanced, eyes blazing. She lunged forward, shard raised, ready to banish the last specter of the theater's curse. Anna's heart pounded as she crossed the threshold into a vast, sunlit atrium that defied the theater's decay. Marble pillars soared toward a glass dome high above, the broken panes patched with rusted metal. Sunbeams pierced through cracks, illuminating drifting dust particles like motes of gold in the air. She paused, rubbing her throbbing shoulder, and scanned the space. At the far end, an ornate wrought iron elevator cage hung silently between floors, its door gaping open. Vines and flickering electrical wires entwined the cage's frame, swaying gently in an unfelt breeze. The atrium's floor was mosaic, once vivid, now dulled, depicting dancers frozen mid-leap in chipped tile. Anna took a tentative step forward, eyes drawn to the elevator's interior drenched in deep shadow. As she neared, a hollow mechanical creak echoed from above, and the cage began to descend on its own, beckoning her inside. Anna's pulse thundered as she stepped into the elevator cage. The floorboards creaked under her weight, and her flashlight beam revealed peeling paint and rusted gears overhead. The elevator groaned upward, chains rattling like skeletal bones. Through the cage's iron bars she saw walls lined with dusty balconies dripping with cobwebs. A sudden jolt sent her breath flying, and the cage lurched to a stop mid-shaft. Silence followed, broken only by the distant drip of water. Anna exhaled, pressing her hand against the cool iron bar, and peered down to the atrium floor far below. Her stomach flipped at the height. She glanced up. Above the cage was the top of the dome, where a single crack spilled direct sunlight. Summoning resolve, she lifted herself onto a low railing, preparing to climb. With trembling hands, Anna hauled herself onto the beam above the cage, balancing on the narrow metal track. The wind howled through the cracked dome, tugging at her hair and jacket. Each step echoed on the iron girder as she crept toward the dome's apex. Her flashlight beam danced across fractured glass panels and exposed rivets. Somewhere behind her, the elevator cage groaned in protest, but she dared not look back. She reached the largest crack in the dome, where jagged edges framed a sliver of open sky. Sunlight cascaded through, warming her face. Anna paused, heart hammering, and peered through the opening to the world beyond, a rooftop garden overgrown with ivy. She exhaled, steeling herself for the final climb. Anna grasped the jagged edge of the glass and pulled herself up onto the roof. Aye! The light was blinding after the dim interior, and she squinted against the glare. Beneath her feet, ivy and wildflowers had claimed the rooftop, their tendrils weaving between broken tiles. The wind carried distant city sounds, honking horns, muffled voices, reminding her of the world she'd left behind. She clutched her satchel and surveyed her path, a narrow ledge leading toward a distant fire escape ladder. Below, the atrium lay silent. A sense of triumph surged as she stepped onto the ledge, but a sudden screech of metal made her spin. Above, a loose glass shard teetered. It crashed down behind her, shattering nearby stone and sending ivy leaves swirling. Anna froze, breath catching as she realized the highest stakes were yet to come. Anna edged along the ledge toward the fire escape ladder, every muscle tense. Below her, the atrium shimmered like a forgotten abyss. Her hands found the cold metal rungs, and she began to climb downward, the city's roar growing louder with each rung. Halfway down she glanced up. Sunlight glinted off her satchel's torn journal pages peeking out. She paused, heart filled with both relief and sorrow, recalling every haunting face she'd encountered. Reaching the bottom, her boots touched the rooftop below the fire escape, and Anna dropped to the ground in a controlled fall. She landed on concrete with a thud, adrenaline surging. Securing her satchel, she turned to face the horizon, eyes bright with determination. The nightmare was over, but its echoes would never leave her.